The big thing, though, that I want to take a look at here is Kyle from Bitwit over on Twitter retweeted Jay's 2 cents. Look, I say that there's a problem with tech stuff on YouTube and tech videos because it seems like everybody wants to tell you that you built your computer wrong or something like that. And this is something I think about. How many people out there who are into technology have been building computers for so long that they forget what it's like to build a computer for the first time, be super nervous about not breaking anything because you spent the better part of $1,000 and you want the thing to work because you're starting from scratch. You don't have any parts to bring over from previous systems. Jay's 2 cents on Twitter. For many people, their PC is the most expensive possession they have. They are proud of it, and although no one has a perfect PC, we should all attempt a little compassion when commenting on others' builds. Be a community, not a mosh pit of opinions. Celebrate our PCs. Kyle from Bitwit responds, "This! The first PC I built wasn't fancy, but I cherished it more than most of the insane systems I build today." And for those of you who think Jay is referencing my roast in this tweet, he knows the difference between being able to laugh at ourselves and being cruel to others. Oh man, I've seen this. I could go probably poke around YouTube right now and find a video of someone building a PC for the first time where they get completely picked apart in the comments. And look, you ever heard of a rough draft? When you do, and I'm not talking about the writing process or writing papers for school or anything. I'm talking about you do something for the first time and it is going to have issues just because you have no experience yet. Now imagine if you write a rough draft of something and everybody just jumps all over you. Oh, you're a moron. You don't hardly know anything. And you're so tempted to be like, of course, I've never done this before. Hello. I should look around in comment sections on YouTube. See, first PC build. Apparently there's a bit of an issue going on with that recently. All right, let's mute YouTube for a bit here, because otherwise the Dr. Carter video is going to fire back up in that browser. So, let me just see what's going around these days. My first PC build. Good luck finding anything. Okay, there's this creator building my first PC. All right, let's see here. I'm muting everything. I'm not going to show the videos because I don't want to embarrass these people. I want to see what people are saying in comments. Anything nasty. Oh, okay. Picking them apart because of an anti-static wristbands and mats. Da-da-da. See here. Oh, I'm actually seeing positive stuff. That's nice. So, more people. He used an anti-static wristband and anti-static mat. And people are like, what are you using that for? You don't need it. See here. Oh man, look at this. We built the exact same PC. Oh, cool. So everybody's picking this guy apart because he used an anti-static mat. Look, there are transistors out there. Transistors! That are sensitive to electrostatic discharge, never mind integrated circuits. It's probably the case, and I'm just guessing at this, because I'm sure that a lot of these parts manufacturers don't want to have tons of RMAs, that component makers have been trying to make their components more resistant to ESD, because there's so many people that don't use anti-static stuff when working with computers. So, but we cannot view something like that as a reason why you don't need to use an anti-static stuff, because you don't know, you might run into some off-brand somewhere that doesn't do that enough or something, or who knows, maybe there'll be some kind of gremlin that pops up later on with how your computer runs. But I've always been concerned about static electricity whenever building or doing things with components and stuff. But okay, so let's see here. The problem is the way the YouTube algorithms are promoting some stuff. Yeah, let's check this one from 3 years ago. I'm looking for a kind of pick-apart comments and stuff that may have inspired people to say that. Or maybe it's something else here. Still better than The Verge. Okay. Got some instructions. Won't be needing any of those. I watched a YouTube video. Famous last words. Linus would have a heart attack if he had to watch this. The way he rips opens and breaks the boxes hurts me every time. Let's see here. Uses an anti-static wristband. I've never seen a single person use those to build PCs. You can see here. Especially on carpet, which is when you should use them. I guess he is the first I have seen now. Not using the SLI bridge. He called the monitor a TV. Man. Nitpick galore. So ask yourself this. Is it any wonder that we have tweet discussions, that we have Twitter discussions like what's going on with Kyle and Jay here, when this kind of stuff's showing up on comments of stuff? Well, let me tell you something about my first computer that I built. When I built the Silver Bullet in 2002, back in college, I basically had no working computer for college at the time. The HP flaked out. That was supposed to get me through college, and it didn't. And so I went and built a system from scratch, but not all of it. Because of problems with AMD XP processors at the time, AMD Athlon XP, where there wasn't any kind of heat spreader, so people were cracking dies if they weren't careful, putting on their aftermarket coolers. I ordered most of it from Newegg, the rest from M-Wave. I don't know if people still go to M-Wave anymore. But Multiwave Direct would actually build motherboard combos for you and test it and make sure it worked. So the first time I built a computer, I actually did not put the guts of the system together. I just plugged in RAM to the motherboard. Motherboard, CPU, and cooler with the Athlon XP were pre-attached. And that was probably one of the worst things I ever did. So, because what happened was, this is AMD Athlon XP. Processor was idle at 65 Celsius. It could go up to like 100 degrees before it thermally shut down. So it wasn't like totally close to cooking, but it idled at like 55 to 60. When there was dust in the fans, it went to 65 to 70. But what Multiwave did at the time, they put a little 60mm Spies cooler on there. A little aluminum heatsink on the processor with a 60mm fan. And the case had 80mm fans, so the whole thing was loud, and that thing made that cooler made it even louder. The computer technically worked, but my paranoia about not cracking the die on an Athlon XP processor at the time basically led to my system being excessively loud, and an even crazier hack job ways that I tried to fix it. There was a mod vendor at the time called One Cool PC, and they sold aluminum CPU fan funnels. So you can go from 60 to 80mm. So I went from 60 to 80mm, and then I bought another funnel to go from 80 to 120mm, and put a 120mm fan like a giant mushroom over the top of two CPU fan funnels, going down to a heatsink that originally had a 60mm fan. That's the kind of hack job, mushroomy garbage I had in my first system. Also, the motherboard died of capacitor plague. Half the capacitors turned orange. The thing only lasted about 3 years. I think it was end of 05. Yeah, I built a system in 2005 after noticing that my college computer had developed capacitor plague, and that's why it was running very poorly. It was like an old car. You had to wait for it to warm up, or else it would screw up if you tried to make it do anything. Kind of like how an old carburetor car, before it warms up, if it's cold-blooded, it stalls the minute you try and put it in gear. So, that's what my computer was like. Oh, there are a lot of stupid stuff. The limit on 80mm fans in my old original case, when 120 was becoming something, that was a mistake. Going AMD was probably a little bit of a mistake too, but I was coming off an original Athlon. But the big thing is, this was something I thought was good because I had built it myself. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. You always think you're better at something than you actually are. But if you egg on someone because they barely have any experience building PCs, and you make fun of their first PC build all the heck, then we wonder why people aren't as interested in things like STEM or something like that. Or people aren't as interested in building PCs or making YouTube videos. When the first thing that's going to happen when they make a YouTube video about I built my first computer is that everybody who's been building computers for 10, 20 years or whatnot is going to pick apart every little detail on what they do. Because they've forgotten what it's like to be a newbie. Where did we get to this point? So I'm looking at the other I'm looking at the other stuff on here too. I retweeted this over on my Twitter, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. The first PC I built wasn't fancy. Let's see what other stuff here. Leave it to the internet to twist my intentions. Sadly, having a voice means being misunderstood by many. It's no wonder so many YouTubers go off the deep end. And 15 to 20 years ago? Man, I am more like Jay's too old, am I right? Nothing I build today compares some of my old builds 15 to 20 years ago. That's what Jay said that Kyle was responding to here. Yeah, 15 to 20 years ago. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. 2, 5, 7. So yeah, 15 to 20 years ago, that applies to what I'm doing as well. Oh, 2002 for my first computer. So, and that was only because the computer I had in 2000 didn't keep working. And Best Buy blew me off when I tried to get it. You know, we paid for a service plan that they would actually send a Geek Squad or somebody tech out to the school if something went wrong, and they blew me off and wouldn't actually send anybody. So here I was stuck with an unstable computer that had a lousy power supply. The replacement would be proprietary. And yeah, it was restarting all by itself, was running very poorly because the power supply had horrible wattage. So it could barely keep up with the machine when it was bone stock, never mind after an upgrade or two. It's all the gotchas and whatnot of building computers like that.